It started with lipstick. Not mine, a shade of bright red I'd never wear, smudged on the collar of his white dress shirt, the kind of cliché I never thought would happen in my own marriage. When I confronted him about it, Ryan had an explanation ready. Jessica from accounting bumped into me, must have been from her. He shrugged it off like it was nothing, like I was overreacting for even asking. You know I'd never cheat on you, Olivia. I wanted to believe him. After 5 years of marriage, I thought I knew my husband. But something in his eyes didn't match his words. A flicker of panic that vanished as quickly as it appeared. I'd never do that to you, he promised, rolling his eyes as if my suspicion was completely irrational. Come on, babe, you know me better than that. I nodded and smiled, but inside doubt had taken root. It wasn't just the lipstick. It was the late nights at work that had become more frequent. The way he guarded his phone, always keeping it face down, how he'd started showering as soon as he got home. Small things that could each be explained away, but together formed a pattern I couldn't ignore. That night, as Ryan slept beside me, I stared at the ceiling and made a decision. If he was telling the truth, I'd feel terrible for doubting him, but if he wasn't, I needed to know. The next morning, after he left for work, I created a new email account. Then I set up a dating profile on the app I'd found hidden in a secure folder on his phone, an app he'd claimed was just to help a single friend check out potential matches. I called my closest friend, Mel. I need your help with something, I said, my voice tight, and I need you not to judge me for it. You know I don't judge, she replied. What's going on? I explained my suspicions and my plan. There was a long pause before she spoke again. Are you sure about this? If you're wrong, I'm wrong, I'll deal with the guilt, but I need to know, Mel. She sighed. What do you need from me? Photos, I said, of someone he doesn't know, someone who's his type. Mel's cousin had modeled years ago. With her permission, we used some of her old portfolio shots. Nothing too professional looking, just casual photos that could belong to any attractive woman. Dark hair, Ryan had always had a thing for brunettes, green eyes, athletic build. I cropped and edited them slightly, just enough that they couldn't be easily reverse image searched. I named her Sophia, gave her a job in marketing, made her a runner who loved trying new restaurants. All things Ryan would be drawn to. I filled out her profile carefully, making her seem genuine, interested in meeting someone special but not desperate, confident but not intimidating. Then came the hard part. Waiting. Didn't have to wait long. Within hours there was a notification Ryan had swiped right on Sophia. My stomach dropped, even as I'd expected it. There was still a chance this was innocent. Maybe he was just swiping on everyone. Maybe he was just curious. Maybe there was some explanation that wouldn't shatter my world. When the matching notification appeared, I felt strangely calm. I stared at it for a long time before opening the message he'd already sent. Your profile caught my eye. You seem like someone I'd like to get to know better. Not overly flirtatious, but definitely not innocent either. He hadn't mentioned being married. He wasn't wearing his ring in his profile photos. I took a deep breath and responded as Sophia. I'm glad I caught your attention. I'm new to this app, still figuring it out. What made you swipe right on me? His response came quickly. Honestly, everything. You're beautiful, obviously, but also seem like you have your life together. I like that you're into running. I try to get out for a run a few times a week myself. We messaged back and forth throughout the day. I asked questions about his life, and he built a version of himself that was mostly true, but conveniently single. He mentioned his job, his favorite restaurants, his love of hiking, all real. But he talked about his apartment, we owned a house together, and weekend plans that didn't include me. By evening, my hands were shaking. This wasn't harmless flirting, this was deliberate deception. He had asked Sophia if she wanted to meet for drinks later that week. A real date. My husband was planning to cheat on me. I closed the app and began preparing dinner, moving on autopilot. Ryan would be home soon, expecting everything to be normal, expecting me to be the trusting wife he thought he had fooled. The front door opened and closed. Something smells good, he called out, the same greeting he used most nights. Just pasta, I replied, forcing my voice to sound casual. How was work? Busy, he said, coming into the kitchen to kiss my cheek. The Wilson account is taking up all my time. The Wilson account, the same excuse he'd been using for weeks to explain the late nights. I wanted to scream, to throw the hot pasta at him, to demand the truth right then. But I stuck to my plan. Sounds stressful, I said, setting plates on the table. Wash up, dinner's ready. We ate with the TV news playing in the background, filling the silence as I struggled to maintain my composure. Ryan scrolled through his phone between bites, smiling occasionally at the screen. Was he messaging with Sophia with me right now? The thought made me feel sick. I waited until we were both nearly finished eating, then I picked up my phone, opened the dating app, and without saying a word flipped the screen toward him. At first, his expression was merely confused, then, as recognition dawned, his face drained of color. "What is this?" he asked, his voice hoarse. "You tell me," I said calmly, though my heart was racing. "You seemed pretty interested in meeting Sophia for drinks on Thursday. I'm wondering if I should come along." "Olivia, I can explain." "Explain what?" I interrupted. "Explain how you've been lying to me? How you created a dating profile while you're married? How you've been planning to cheat on me?" "It's not like that," he protested, but his eyes darted away from mine. I was curious, that's all. I never would have actually met up with her." "Really?" I scrolled through our conversations and read aloud. "I've been thinking about how your lips would feel against mine all day. That sounds like curiosity to you? Because to me it sounds like you were planning to cheat." "You set me up," he said, his embarrassment quickly turning to anger. "You created a fake profile to trick me. How is that okay?" I laughed, the sound hollow even to my own ears. "I gave you an opportunity to cheat, Ryan. You took it. You lied about being married. You made plans to meet up with another woman. Don't try to make this my fault." He pushed his plate away, running his hands through his hair. "This isn't fair. You invaded my privacy." "And you betrayed my trust," I countered. "Was this the first time? Or have there been others?" His silence was all the answer I needed. "How many?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He stared at the table. "Does it matter?" "It matters to me." Ryan sighed, finally meeting my eyes. "2. There were 2 others, but nothing serious, I swear." The room seemed to tilt around me. "Nothing serious? You cheated on me, Ryan, twice, and you were about to do it again. What part of that isn't serious to you?" "I made mistakes," he admitted. "But I love you, Olivia. Those other women, they didn't mean anything. And that's supposed to make me feel better?" I stood up, no longer able to sit across from him. "That you threw away our marriage for women who didn't mean anything." He reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "Please, we can work through this. I'll go to counseling, whatever you want. Just don't throw away 5 years over a stupid mistake." 3, I corrected him. 3 stupid mistakes that I know of. I walked to the window, looking out at the street where everything seemed so normal, so unchanged, while my world was collapsing. Cars passed by, neighbors walked their dogs, a sprinkler turned lazily on the lawn across the street. How could everything look so ordinary, when nothing would ever be ordinary again? "I need you to leave," I said finally, still facing the window. "What?" The panic in his voice was real now. "Olivia, no! This is my house too." "It's my name on the deed," I reminded him. "It was my down payment. You can stay with your brother or get a hotel, but I can't look at you right now." "You're overreacting," he said, his tone shifting to the condescending one he used when he thought I was being irrational. "Let's just sleep on it, talk in the morning when we're both calmer." I turned to face him, surprised at how steady my voice remained. "If you're not out of this house in 30 minutes, I'm calling your mother and telling her exactly why I'm kicking you out." "I'm sure she'd love to hear about her son, the cheater." That got his attention. Ryan's relationship with his mother was complicated, but one thing was certain: he cared deeply about her opinion of him. "You wouldn't try me?" I held up my phone. "I have her on speed dial." He stared at me for a long moment, then wordlessly got up and walked upstairs. I heard drawers opening and closing, the sound of a suitcase being dragged across the floor. 20 minutes later, he came down with a hastily packed bag. "And this isn't over," he said, pausing at the door. "We need to talk about this." Yes, we do, I agreed. But not tonight. Tonight, I need space. After he left, I locked the door and slid down against it until I was sitting on the floor. Only then did I allow myself to cry, great heaving sobs that seemed to come from the center of my being. I cried for the marriage I thought I had, for the husband I thought I knew, for the future that now lay in pieces around me. I don't know how long I sat there, but eventually the tears stopped. I felt empty, hollowed out, but also strangely calm. The worst had happened, and I had survived it. I had found out the truth, painful as it was, and I had stood my ground. My phone buzzed with a text from Mel. "Are you okay? Do you need me to come over?" I wiped my eyes and typed back, "I'm not okay, but I will be." The next few days passed in a blur. Ryan called and texted constantly at first, alternating between apologies, justifications, and pleas for another chance. I let most go unanswered, responding only to practical matters about when he could pick up more of his things. Mel stayed with me for 2 nights, bringing ice cream and wine, listening as I cycled through anger, grief, and occasional moments of dark humor about the situation. "You know what's ironic?" I said on the second night, halfway through a bottle of Merlot. "If he hadn't been so convincing when he promised he'd never cheat, I might not have been suspicious enough to set that trap." "Men who protest too much," Mel said, raising her glass in a mock toast. A week after I confronted Ryan, I met with a lawyer to discuss my options. 2 weeks after, when Ryan finally admitted there had been not 3 women but 7 over the course of our marriage, I filed for divorce. It wasn't an easy decision. Despite everything, a part of me still loved the man I thought he was, the marriage I thought we had, but I couldn't go back to wondering every time he came home late, checking his phone when he wasn't looking, setting traps to test his fidelity. The day the divorce papers were finalized, 6 months later, I took myself out to dinner at the restaurant where Ryan and I had celebrated our first anniversary. It felt important somehow to reclaim it, to create a new memory there. As I sipped my wine, my phone buzzed with a notification from a dating app I'd downloaded the week before. Not seriously looking, just dipping my toe back in the water. For a moment I hesitated, remembering how online connections had played a role in unraveling my marriage. But then I reminded myself that the problem hadn't been the app, it had been the man using it. I opened the message from a man named David, who had written a thoughtful comment about my love of classic films. His profile mentioned that he was divorced, that he valued honesty above all else. I smiled to myself and typed a response, feeling not excited exactly, but open to possibilities, open to the idea that my story wasn't over, that the chapter with Ryan had ended, but new chapters were waiting to be written. And I didn't know if I'd ever fully trust again, but I trusted myself now, trusted my instincts, trusted my strength, trusted my ability to face the truth, however painful. As I paid my bill and stepped out into the cool evening air, I felt something I hadn't expected to feel so soon after the divorce. Hope. Not for another relationship necessarily, but for a life that was mine, shaped by my choices, my boundaries, my truth. I'd set a trap for a cheater and caught my husband. In doing so, I'd also freed myself.